So what have we got this week then? I've done my usual unitisation for the week. There's a little look at it for you. And then I've also inputted the life strategy 80, 60 and 100. And here's the results. So I've done a little bit better than my three comparators there, which is nice to see, but doesn't make up for the past couple of weeks, does it? Because if we look at the yearly so far this year, I'm down 1.13 percentage points compared to Life Strategy 100. I should really put in the correct comparison, shouldn't I? Because as I've repeatedly said, 100 really isn't the right comparison. 60 or 80 is really halfway between the two. What have we got here then? Biotech growth seems to have had a big week, up 4.77%. Nothing else to note really, just the usual random noise in the markets. I mean, I guess it's nice to see the banks are making progress still. We're getting dangerously close to breaking even, aren't we? Which is nice to see. And then I'll cover that in a second. So let's have a quick look at how Fundsmith has done. Anything to note here? No, just the usual stuff really. I mean, individual stocks are going to have 3 to 5 to 6% changes during a week. That's natural, but nothing massive there. Atlas Copco's getting just a little bit below the 2% I started it as, so that's obviously not doing too well. But yeah, not much to say really. And the dividends was another slow week, just £49.68. The only proper one was Gore Street Energy Fund. And I think next week is pretty bare as well. Yeah, I don't think there's anything at all scheduled for next week, apart from the very tiny ones that might come from Fundsmith or SCHD. So next week is going to be probably the smallest number so far. But there's the dividends. No transactions this week. We just had two announcements that were relevant to me. First one was Harmony Energy. They didn't really say a lot. I mean, I guess the most important thing is their attempts to sell all of their assets and close the fund are a step closer, but there's no information here. They reckon they might have accepted an offer by the end of this year. So that's kind of good, isn't it? Although it doesn't, I mean, that could mean anything, to be honest. It currently trades between 50 and 51 pence, which according to Hargreaves Lansdown's a 47% discount. If the offer's here, that's not really great, is it? But if the offer they end up getting is somewhere here, maybe, that might be realistic, 80 pence. I seriously doubt it though. I think that's very optimistic. So my point is, this really isn't news, because these offers could be rubbish for all we know. They could be down here, they could be up here, they could be up here. So it's not really news, is it? And then the other announcement was from Gore Street Energy. So it's both the battery storage funds making announcements today. And this is, I think it's for an American, they call it, the asset is called Big Rock. I think that's just a nickname for it. And it's some sort of agreement where it's like a fixed amount of money per year to offer someone a certain service, like a use of the batteries in a certain way. I don't know the full details of it. I did read it, but I don't thoroughly understand these things. It gives them some surety on their revenues for this little portion of the portfolio, rather than it being completely down to market forces. But in terms of these two, the share price, Gore Street Energy did have a bit of a bump, but I mean Harmony Energy 1.61 is not much. That's just random noise really to me. But the 3.64, that announcement from Gore Street Energy did have an effect on the share price. So we do a week chart there. So we lost a load. We went down by about 4%, and then we popped by about 5.7%. But yeah, so overall it was only a few percent up, but it's better than nothing. It's been on a really bad run recently. It's still 11% down for me. I've got hopes for these two because they're at such a discount to the NAVs, and the yields are ridiculous for Gore Street Energy. And Harmony's just given up on the yield, so they just decided to sell. So I decided to just do a quick little assessment, just for the sake of content really, of how much US exposure I've got. Because obviously that's been the best performing market. And partially that's why I've done so badly compared to a global tracker. So what I did was I went through each of these and I got from their latest fact sheet the amount of North American exposure. I say North America because that's what a lot of them only give North America, so I'm sure there could be some Canadian in there, I'm not sure to be honest. I've got 28.84% roughly in America. I didn't know that number until this morning, but before that I kind of knew that I was underweight, but I didn't realise I was that much underweight US stocks. It's not just a case of like me being underweight US stocks being what caused my underperformance. It's being underweight the correct US stocks, i.e. the biggest ones, which have done the best over the past however many years I've been tracking my portfolio. So even if I made these changes, to be honest, they might not fix anything. Who knows? I don't care. I do care, but I also don't care, because it's not about me beating the market. It's about me getting enough returns in a way that makes me comfortable. That's my target. So one of the things I was thinking of doing, just to, at some point down in the future, just to creep myself a bit higher in US stocks, I was thinking of boosting the SCHD value. And I think what I might do in general, when these like basket case ones here, at some point, for instance, at some point I might take a profit on Schroeder Real Estate and go into another thing that might be a basket case. And at that point, I might just sort of like trim the profits from that sale and put it into the SCHD portfolio. So I'm just gradually taking stuff from the riskier kind of basket cases, like I say, and putting just little bits of it into SCHD. And that's one of the things I love about trading 212. I can make small little contributions like that without it costing me a fortune in like percentage terms, like a £5 transaction fee with iWeb. If I get really lucky and something big does happen with Harman Energy by the end of the year, I could just, whatever profits I might get at some point, I can just trim the profits in there and put the rest in something else that I like the look of. And then another thing I was pondering, I mean, it's not something I would do now, but you might have probably noticed this bit of the spreadsheet here, is me kind of working out the income differential if I sold the basically it's three things that are kind of sector specific. So the healthcare ones and the Impax. It's what would happen, how my income would change if I sold those three and I bought JAM, which is a JPMorgan American. I think it yields about 0.7% from memory. And it's just a way of, it's number one, it kind of reduces my holdings. Number two, it boosts my American exposure, which needs boosting. Although to be honest, these aren't the best ones to sell, because these are actually relatively high at 73, 73 and 58. But I mean, it's just, you know, it would still boost my American exposure, but what it would also do is it would take away me making a decision. I don't want the core of my portfolio to be me making a decision on a sector. But yeah, but I wouldn't want to do that move when those two sectors are in kind of a downward ebb at the moment. I'd like to see a good bit of recovery from these two, because I feel like they're ripe for a bit of outperformance over the next couple of years. So this isn't something I'm thinking of doing soon. It's just a little thing that I monitor, similar to how I'm monitoring this with the thing I went through a few weeks ago, didn't I, with Claver House, I think it was, swapping it for City of London. It's something that may never happen. It's something that might happen in about 2, 3, 4 years, who knows? Or it could be tomorrow. The other reason why is these have quite high charges compared to the JPMorgan American, and well, quite high charges compared to most of the stuff I own, to be honest. So that's another reason why at some point I'd like to get out of those. There's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to say. Right, yeah, that's it then. Have fun, guys. Bye-bye.